Look at this paper right there. People go to war for it. They sell their souls for it. They betray friends, break families, even take lives, all for this. And a lot of folks, they worship it like it's the new god. But what actually makes it different from, I don't know, your toilet paper? Sure, it's thicker. It survives water better. It's got a cool dude's face on it, staring like he knows your bank balance. But speaking of cool, honestly, I think Pokemon cards are way cooler. So why is this piece so powerful? I think what makes it powerful is the belief. Collective belief, to be exact. And collective belief is one of the most powerful forces humans have ever invented. Anthropologist David Graeber called it a shared fiction, where something has meaning simply because everyone else agrees it does. Think about it. Trading without money is a nightmare. You can't just say, here's a goat, give me 37 bananas without endless haggling. So humanity invented a shortcut. Pick one thing, agree it's valuable, and use it as the middleman in every trade. Humans have believed in all kinds of things as that middleman, like seashells, salt, giant stones, cocoa beans, silver, gold. They all gain value because people trusted them. But here's the problem. That trust is fragile. Once the thing becomes too common, the magic fades. Seashells become decoration. Salt becomes just seasoning. Giant stones? Just heavy. Without scarcity, the value collapses. Gold was the rare exception. It stayed scarce, durable, and almost impossible to fake. That's why it held the crown for so long. Now, imagine you could convince people to believe in something you can make endlessly. You wouldn't just have money. You'd have the power to create power. And if you can also control the illusion of scarcity, deciding when to print more, when to hold back, you control the flow of value itself. That's exactly what governments figured out with paper money and later with the numbers on a screen. Belief stacked on belief. A fiction inside another fiction. Let's step into the story of the paper promise. How governments guided societies into trusting paper as money. The thing is, governments didn't just wake up one morning and hand people paper. They had to anchor that belief to something people already trusted. That something was gold. In the early 20th century, paper money wasn't money in the way we think of it today. It was more like a receipt. Imagine walking into a dry cleaner with your best suit. You hand it over, and they give you a small paper ticket. That ticket has no real use. You can't wear it, but it's proof that somewhere in the back room, your suit is waiting. Gold-backed currency worked the same way. You handed real gold to the bank, and in return, they gave you paper notes. The paper itself was worthless, but it was a claimed ticket, an IOU, that promised, bring this note back, and we'll give you gold. This system is what economists call a commodity-backed currency. The commodity, in this case gold, was the true store of value. The paper was just a convenient way to trade without lugging heavy metal around. And as long as the bank had enough gold to cover every note, people trusted the paper like it was gold itself. But as John Maynard Keynes once noted, there is no subtler, no surer means of overturning the existing basis of society than to debauch the currency. Once you realize you can issue more paper than the gold you hold, temptation becomes too strong to resist. It's time for them to break the gold chain. And why not? Think about it. People say they believe in gold, but in reality, they're trading little pieces of paper with each other every single day. The gold stays locked in a vault. The paper is what changes hands. And after decades of this habit, most people weren't asking for the gold anymore. The paper worked just fine. It was faster, lighter, and everyone else was already using it. So if the public no longer demands the shiny metal itself, why not just print more paper? At first, governments only stretched it a little, issuing more notes than gold reserves. But when push came to shove, especially in times of war and massive spending, the temptation became too strong. By 1971, the United States made it official.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
The dollar would no longer be tied to gold at all. No more promise of redeemable in gold. From that moment, Money was backed only by one thing: collective belief. Economists call it fiat currency, money that has value simply because the government says it does, and because people agree to play along. And just like that, the printing press was no longer chained to the weight of gold. It was chained only to politics, policy, and the thin thread of public trust. So here's the real trick. Back in the gold standard days, governments discovered they could print more paper notes than the gold they actually had. It was tempting, and they did it because most people never came to redeem their gold at the same time. Banks today do almost the same thing. They create more numbers on a screen than the actual money they hold. Here's how it works. When you deposit money, the bank keeps a small slice as reserves, mainly to cover two situations: if you withdraw cash, or if they need to settle payments with another bank. Basically, when you deposit your paper notes into a bank, you believe the bank can always give them back whenever you ask. But it is just a belief. Banks surely squeeze every drop of advantage out of that belief. As economist Josiah Stamp once joked, the modern banking system manufactures money out of nothing. Let's say the bank lends you $100,000. Most people imagine the bank takes that money from someone else's account and hands it to you. But that's not what happens at all. When they issue a loan, they don't take from anyone. They literally type new money into existence. Your promise to repay is what the bank counts as valuable. And the $100,000 they just added to your account is what they now owe you if you decide to spend or withdraw it. Voila! Money from nowhere. In a way, you're borrowing money from your future, and the bank is just the middleman. They don't own the money, but they help bring it into the system and earn interest from you. You pay it back with interest, which is the cost of using money that didn't exist before. And the bank has the power to do this because you're using their type of money. And this isn't some conspiracy theory. Even central banks openly admit it. The Bank of England wrote in 2014, whenever a bank makes a loan, it simultaneously creates a matching deposit in the borrower's account, thereby creating new money. So every time someone takes out a loan, brand new money enters the economy. That's how most of the money we use today actually comes into existence. And here's the kicker. They can create far more money on computer screens than the reserves they physically hold. Why? Because they're betting on a belief that the vast majority of customers won't all rush to withdraw cash or drain accounts into other banks at once. If that belief holds, the system runs smoothly. If not, well, we're one bad rumor away from chaos. As Michael Lewis put it, a banking system is an act of faith. It survives only for as long as people believe it will. As long as people keep believing, banks can expand money supply almost infinitely, then collect interest on money that didn't even exist yesterday, something they could never dream of doing if they were limited to their actual reserves. This entire system runs on what historians and psychologists call a shared fiction, the unspoken agreement that we all act as if the numbers are real. Because if we all believe, the system works. After seeing how money is typed into existence, you start to realize our collective belief is astonishingly powerful. From pure paper backed by nothing to digits on a screen created out of thin air. As long as people believe in it, it works. In most countries today, more than 90% of all money exists only in digital form. Physical cash is just the tip of the iceberg. The rest lives as numbers in databases. So the next time you check your balance, remember this. Most of that money isn't paper, isn't coins. It's just numbers on a screen. Numbers that only matter because we all agree they do. Banks create it, we spend it, and the cycle keeps spinning, all on trust. In the end, money is the greatest collective story we've ever told. And as long as we keep believing, the illusion stays alive. But belief is a fragile power. When trust rises, money feels strong. When it breaks, bad things follow. That's why the real asset isn't the paper or the numbers. It's the fragile trust behind them. And once you see that, you'll never look at money the same way again. Belief in paper may change, but hitting subscribe to my channel, that's solid action. Go on, make the move.